And they worshipped the beast, saying, "Who is like the beast, and who can fight against it?" The book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 4. And this is the perfect representation of the dichotomy between our protagonist, Dr. Kenzo Tenma, and the antagonist, Johan Liebert, in what might be the most overlooked anime series of all time, and my personal favorite, Monster. Let's talk about it. So what makes Monster so great? Why is it my favorite? Well, to begin, the story starts so quickly. In a lot of anime, first episode tends to be dry, it tends to be boring, it tends to be really slow, maybe until the end. That's why I couldn't really get into series like Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan, and people are going to hate me for saying this. I know you are, and I know exactly who you are, and I'm not going to name any names. But Monster just starts off a little bit quicker to me. It has that dark, eerie feeling to it, and I just love the way it starts with the story just kicking off right in the beginning, right in a place where you feel like you're supposed to be safe, and then things just aren't the way they're supposed to be. I love that about it. I love the antagonist of the series. That's the reason why I watched it to begin with, because I heard so much greatness about Johan Liebert. And on top of that, Dr. Tenma is a neurosurgeon, and I am a neuroscientist of my own right. So that really drew me into the series as well. And I really enjoyed this one. But the way it starts off so quickly, the first 10 episodes are just out of this world. Something I've never seen in any other anime. And I just will never forget it. I mean, my jaw was dropped on every single episode. And I think it'll be the same for you. For those of you who have heard of the series, I'm sure you've been exposed to its antagonist, Johan Liebert. And a lot of pages on Instagram and other places are showing him off as one of the most cunning and best anime villains there is to date. But why is that the case? What do we see in him that you don't see in other anime antagonists? Let's break it down. To begin, for most of the series, we don't really see his face. All we see is his blonde hair, his pale skin. A lot of the time, his hair is covering his eyes. And if it's not covering his eyes aren't very wide open. He doesn't have any emotion in his face. He's just cold. As cold as a human can get. Actually, it doesn't even seem human. It's just something you don't really see. He seems broken inside. And you don't really feel bad for him. Not at first. But you are afraid of him. For some reason, he also has this outstanding ability to make anybody do whatever it is he wants them to do. And we're talking a lot of things, not dirty or anything like that, so don't get too crazy about it. But a lot of things you wouldn't imagine doing just because he said so, people end up doing just because Johan has something to him that has these people bending at his every will. It's unbelievable. It isn't exactly what he says and how he says things. He's so calm, calculated. He's never under stress. He's never under pressure to a point where it's bone-chilling. It's terrifying. He has no remorse for human life. He does not care. He just wants to be the leader of the new world because that's what he was told to do. And nothing's going to stop him. The only soft spot that he has is Dr. Tenma. And why is that? Because Dr. Tenma saved his life with that surgery, removing the bullet from his head. And no, that's not a spoiler. This all happens in the first episode. Let me tell you, Johan Liebert is terrifying, sickening. If you witnessed him in real life, I guarantee you would never be the same. Even watching him here in anime, you will never be the same. Now, in this series, there is an overarching main plot as well as some subplots underneath, but everything comes together and forms a final picture of everything you learned throughout the series. And that's another reason why it feels so justified. It feels right with the ending, because all those puzzle pieces that were scattered across the board are all put together in the end, which a lot of time you don't see in anime. There tend to be plot holes in a lot of these. But in Monster, every single question is answered. And it's a satisfying ending on top of the already so tense situations that we see. So Dr. Tenma, after he realizes what he's done with saving Johan, and after his life has been completely destroyed because of his decision to save Johan, and he loses his chief surgeon position, he loses his grant money, he decides to hunt down Johan instead of staying in his high-paying job because they wanted to keep him stuck forever as a form of torture because he decided he didn't want to save the mayor because he went with whoever was brought into the hospital first. But we see the chase. We see Johan's twin sister, Anna Liebert, who has a satisfying ending. She starts out as this character who is terrified and, doesn't want to deal with the trauma of what happened. And then she becomes, an outstanding young woman who is doing her own right in college, and she's living her life happily. And she didn't necessarily forget what happened, but she's gone through therapy and she hasn't become too comfortable with it, but she's happy living without it. And instead, she comes back into the picture and remembers everything that happened with Johan and the trauma she felt, and the ending just helps her get over it. And it's a triumphant tale for her, for Dr. Tenma, and even for Johan, for Grimmer, and for Eva, who was Dr. Tenma's fiance, who was as evil as it gets. I hated her from the start of the series, and then towards the end, she redeemed herself. And I don't want to say everything ends with a happy ending, but it's a satisfying ending. It doesn't leave you feeling empty for any character, which is rare to say for any piece of film, movie, anime, TV shows, anything of that sort. And I feel like Monster wraps everything up more neatly and more tightly than anything I've ever seen before. That being said, this is Alex from ADHD Reviews, and this anime is more than approved. This is possibly the best fiction you'll ever see, and I mean that. I got Daryl the entire series on manga because he's more of a manga reader than an anime watcher, so I got it for him for his birthday. He hasn't read it yet, which really upsets me. He hasn't even started, but he did read the other book that I got him for his birthday, which was a Marvel Comics book. He posted it on his own Instagram, and I'll try to post it onto ours. But he's going to witness the greatness that this is, and I want you guys to do that too. And if you have seen the series before or read the manga, let us know in the comments. Write your ideas, write your thoughts. If you have any suggestions for us, go ahead and write those in the comments as well. We've had a few suggestions. People have reached out to us personally, and we'll get to those as soon as we can. And I'm Alex from ADHD Reviews. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see in future videos, and I'll catch you next time.